You are in for a treat today. I have an opportunity to interview Darnica Gordon, mom of three, born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I love her mission. She's here to encourage women to learn their worth as well as how to process grief and loss, either caused by death or divorce. And I'm just so excited to just learn how do you do it? I love your three loves is learning, reading, like dancing, karaoke. I mean, it sounds like you're full of adventure, which probably affects your mindset and your journey.
Absolutely. And it
So
wasn't always that way. It was definitely a learning process, a growing process as well. So yes, I do love those things.
and how old are your children? And how do you? I'm sure you are probably conscious of building their worth, right? And teaching them how to process grief and loss because sooner or later, we do experience grief and loss, and sometimes at a young age. How do
Yes.
you did that? How did you do that in the past, and how do you help women and just navigate this whole? Sometimes it can feel like torture.
Yes, absolutely. So my children, I have a 21-year-old daughter. She will be 21 next month in July. I have a 17-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter. And speaking of loss and grief, especially for the children, my children have experienced loss at very young ages. They've lost grandparents, great grandparents. And so I have had to help them navigate through those emotions. Most recently, we lost my grandmother, my mother's mom, and my aunt, which is my mother's sister, within 5 months of each other. So that was probably the roughest loss that I've experienced because I've had losses in my family, but it would be like great aunts that I really wasn't really close to or didn't really know very well. So those two deaths definitely hit us pretty hard.
So how did you help your children and yourself process it? Because that is hard when it's so close.
Absolutely. I I had to take time for myself because I wouldn't have been able to properly help them without trying to ground myself at least. I did spend some time alone, just allowing my emotions to play out each day, literally taking, when people say take each day one day at a time, that is a real piece of advice. It sounds cliche, but it's something you really have to do because you can't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. You can only focus on what you can do for today. And I take that to heart. And so I'm very open with my children about how I feel, regardless to what's going on. And I allow them to be very open with me if they're angry about something, if they're upset, they're sad. I do encourage them to, allow those emotions to play out, and they can always talk to me about, any and everything about how they're feeling.
Don't you think that's important though? Because I notice some kids just don't feel safe to share their emotions and they might feel, is it just fear of judgment or just that it's not right, right? Because society often teaches like boys not to cry or even girls, it doesn't matter what gender, but they feel uncomfortable. Right there's a lot of discomfort. How do you teach children that it's okay to experience negative emotions?
I think by showing them that I also experience negative emotions. And like I said, just kind of opening conversations with how are you feeling today? If they, like I'm fine or I'm okay, I'll probably share with them how I'm feeling, or, maybe I'm upset for today. Just the other day, my grandmother passed away in January. And just the other day, I was like in my room bawling. And my son came in and he said, Mom, what's wrong? What's wrong? Thinking something happened. And I just told him, like, I'm just thinking about grandma, and her birthday was recent. So it was just bringing up a lot of those emotions. And, I'm just very transparent. And I think that translates over to them as well and allow them to be transparent as well, especially with me. I try to be as open. I mean, I know sometimes your kids aren't as comfortable because they may not want to offend you or hurt your feelings about how they're feeling about something, but I encourage them to share feelings with me. And if they can't, they can reach out to their dad, their grandparents, whomever they may feel comfortable sharing those feelings with.
That's probably the key, though, to teach them transparency because so often, especially like in the classroom, they fear feeling incompetent. At home, like you said, they don't want mom or dad to worry. So they just hide it. They just keep it hidden and you don't know what will happen when they have those emotional explosions.
Right. Yeah.
So, any tips on how do we increase the self worth? I think I struggle with it too. You're one day you're fine and you think I can do this, and then other days you think I don't think I can do this.
Right. And that's important. To some days it will be like that, but not to allow the negative or the
Yes,
that saying I don't get this. It may just be for that day, but you have to be able to pick yourself up and say, okay, we're going to try this again the next day. And no matter how many times you feel down or that you can't do something, you fall down 7 times, you get up 8. Using those things as encouragement for yourself. I do also think it's important to have like a support person or a close friend who's able to also keep you encouraged as well. It could be a friend, a family member, whomever, but someone who you can, look to for that motivation when you can't give it to yourself.
that is important. So during, I've sometimes experienced or help moms who have husbands deployed and they do feel alone.
Mhm.
Any suggestions on people who, sometimes you don't want to share or you might not feel comfortable? What do you suggest?
It's funny that you say that because I was like that for quite a while. Um, After I started my journey with my relationship with Christ, I kind of felt, I guess, apart from everyone. I kind of didn't
Mm-hmm.
really trust everyone. I didn't want to share too much because I didn't want them to look at me in any certain type of way. I was new, to this whole community, and I really didn't share a lot. But what that did was made me play a lot of scenarios in my mind that were unhealthy. So when I did find someone that I felt comfortable enough to share with, I would share a little and
Mm-hmm.
see how they took in that information. And as time went on, I was able to share more, with that person. I think I have like 2 core people that I can share absolutely anything. I can be my most authentic self with, but you also have to be able to recognize who to share different things with and the different roles that people play in your life as well.
And it has to be a safe environment, right? I think oftentimes if you do fear judgment or not accept it, then you might even question, right? Do I feel okay with sharing?
Right.
Do you teach that to your children too? Because I think teaching them to have a support system is so important so they don't just keep everything to themselves, right?
Absolutely. Yes, I do encourage that. Even to the extent of like outside resources. So after my divorce, I could see a lot of, I guess, different emotions or pains or processing in my youngest child, and she was having a really hard time, and it was exhibited through things like just us getting ready for school, getting ready for bedtime. She was having anxiety with going to school, and I think that played a part with the divorce. And I had to reach out to her school counselor and say, hey, I'm trying to help her as best I can. She don't feel like it's working for her. Are there any other resources that we could utilize? And I was able to set her up with a school therapist who she sees once a week. And I feel like that's really been helping because, we would have meltdowns in the morning. It
Mm-hmm.
was hard to get her up in the morning. It was hard to get her out the door, even out the car to get into school. And now I have seen a transformation in that, also with a lot of prayer as well. Because it was really weighing heavy on me as a parent, because like you said, we tell ourselves we have these superpowers, but then when you can't solve something, or you can't find a solution, or you feel like you've tried everything and nothing is working, what do I do now as a parent? And I had to tell myself, you need outside help. You need professional help, because they will probably have the tools that you need that you don't have to assist your daughter in getting through her days. So,
And that takes a lot of strength, because you have to trust this outside resource. But then, like you said, when you see that transformation, it's almost, I mean, it's like a magical cure, because you don't, when you're at your wit's end and you think, oh my gosh, I think every single mom out there, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I failed. What can I do? And you
right.
try so many things, and then it does affect your self-worth. What did
Yes.
you do? Are there any particular tips you have in, when you have those periods where you don't even think self-worth is possible? You're in this, like, do I have any self-worth? What can we do to help ourselves feel worthy?
It's funny because when I do get in those moments or in those moods, my kids will say something like, "You're a great mom." Or my
Oh,
parents will say, "You're doing such a great job." So a lot of times it's outside influence that helps me get through those times. And if you don't have that, knowing that you are taking care of your children, knowing that you are putting your best foot forward, knowing that you're pouring out everything that you possibly have, can be that motivation to let you know that you are worthy of being a parent. You are doing what you're supposed to be doing, and that's something to be proud about, because being a parent is hard.
it is hard. You never realize that. When I remember, I'm an only child, and my mom would say, "You wait till you're a mom," and I
Yes.
remember feeling so annoyed. And then things
And then
change, and you have this light bulb moment, thinking,
yes,
"Oh," but it
I have
doesn't.
still
Yeah,
today, like, oh, that's why my mom used to say this, or that's why my mom did that. I get it. I get it.
and so, do you have like a mini story maybe in how transformation, or how self-worth can truly transform our lives? When you have those down times, and it could be personal, or maybe someone that where, I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot, but I think
No,
sometimes
no,
it's
no.
so inspirational just to hear someone else's journey where we think, hey, it's just not us.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Self-worth, I think it starts with a discussion. I spoke to some teen parents through a program called Family Links, and I was asking them, like, raise your hand if you feel worthy. And no one raised their hand. And I said, well, why don't you feel worthy? And a lot of the young ladies said it wasn't that they didn't feel worthy, but it was like I'm not worthy, but I don't feel like I am worthy. So it was a
Yes.
kind of in between thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to be something that's to be talked about. For me, I try to, now that I know that, I can share with my children, especially my daughters, that you are worthy, you are important, you are fearfully and wonderfully made, you are unique, you have all of these, qualities about you for a reason, to be a light unto someone else. And even though, I pour that into them, that one day when I'm not around, it will play, in the back of their mind. They'll hear it. They can, still hear my voice or hear me saying, mom is right. I am worthy, and like you were saying about the young ladies now and their work ethic, you have to have boundaries, and
Yes.
say what you mean and mean what you say, and be assertive. You don't have to be aggressive or rude or unpleasant, but knowing your worth, knowing that I'm worth this is what I stand for, this is what I do, and not allowing anyone to take that from you, but also being able to still accept criticism so that you're able to continue to grow. But that is important as well, and I try to teach that to my children as well, to have boundaries with people. If even for my youngest daughter, if you're worthy of having your own personal space. If you don't want someone at school really close to you or touching you or messing with your hair, tell them. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you're in my space, please don't touch my hair. I don't like when people touch my hair, or what, it could be anything. But you have that right, you know, to do those things and to have that worth. I battled with self-esteem for a long time. After I had my first child, I gradually, you know, put on weight, and it made my self-esteem go down because I couldn't wear the stuff that I used to wear, didn't fit. And the stuff that I needed to wear was not fashionable. I'm glad now that they make more things where you can still be yourself, even if you are, you know, plus size. But as I'm growing up, I'm still learning myself. I'm still a teenager. I had my daughter when I was 17. And so that's a whole learning experience in itself. And I missed out on a lot of things. And so it did affect my worth, because it's like I was the good student, the straight A student. I was in all, you know, the extracurricular activities. I had goals and plans to be a lawyer. And then boom, I end up a teen parent. And so that will attack your self-worth as well. Cause it's like, oh, look at you. You just thought you were a hot shot. Now, you know, you're a statistic pretty much. And so even in those times, you're still worthy regardless. Your decisions doesn't strip you of your worth. And it's important for young ladies to know that.
I love that. Your decisions do not strip your worth. I think so many, so many of us do define, like if, I have students who straight A's and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, I might get a C, or they fail one test and they really believe the world is over. I mean,
Yeah,
the world is like, oh my gosh, I am destined for failure. And
right.
so I love how, when it's not like you didn't attend school, you cut classes. I mean, here you were. What a great story though. Because I think parents do believe that, okay, you need this, this, and this, and this, but it doesn't matter where our journey takes us. I mean,
Yeah.
do you reflect back and look at the amazing things you did from 17 till now? It must just blow your mind. I mean, what do you
Yeah.
think?
When I really focus on where I have come from, because a lot of times I would, because I had a plan, and you know, I was going to a particular high school that prepped you, you know, a little bit in law, because I wanted to be a lawyer. And then I had a plan to go to Duquesne University here, which, you know, has a law program. And so I was going to do college there and then do, you know, my 3 years of law there. And then by 27, I was going to have this amazing job at somebody's law firm. And my life was just going to be ta-da, wow, you know, amazing. But obviously that it didn't happen that way. And for a while, I really felt like I didn't have a purpose. I didn't have a dream. And that turned around. And I was able to, I didn't pursue law, but I had a plan B, which was journalism. And I was able to start, it was just a local magazine here in Pittsburgh that I did for several years. And it allowed me to write in a way that I could be completely free. I had other writers, you know, and I put together a magazine quarterly. And so,
Wow. Oh, I saw
yeah, that was,
that. The In
yeah,
Christ, right? Yeah, I was looking at
yeah,
that and then I thought, oh my gosh, you have done a lot of just such a wide range. So when you ask yourself, back then before you started, how do we even get the courage to pursue something that sometimes, our brain says, do you really think you can do that? Because sometimes those doubts feel real. But what
absolutely.
made you just say, you know what? I'm doing this.
To be honest, I always tell people I heard God's voice just say the magazine. And I thought it was something that was for my then husband, because he did music and they had a song by a similar name. And so I pitched it to him and he didn't say anything. And I was like, oh, well, whatever. And slowly but surely it came back around. And then I found myself like typing up different topics that came to my mind and putting different things together. And before I knew it, you know, I had this little booklet that I was printing out of my house at first. And then, you know, I would share with people at church. And then it grew into, a publication that I am very proud of, to say that I had the
Wow.
opportunity to do that. Yeah.
So I think inspiration does hit, right? When it's meant to
Yeah.
be, especially if it keeps revisiting you, you
Yeah.
think, I don't know if I should do this, but
Yeah.
it does take courage. And wow, I just
Yeah.
am blown away because I think a lot
I
of
appreciate
times
it.
we question, right?
Yeah.
Especially during those, it's almost like you have two paths and you don't know. And so what do you think when people say, oh, but I don't want to take the wrong path? You know how sometimes do you believe that there is no wrong path? Otherwise, people might just become
That's a
paralyzed
good
and not choose
question.
any path
Right.
because sometimes, like the road less traveled. I mean, is there
Yeah.
really like your journey? Right? If you thought,
Yeah.
if I'm not an attorney, and some people do this, right? If
Yeah.
my whole goal is to be a mother, and then they find out that they can't be a mother, and
Right.
I mean, it really is, it just torments them for years,
Yeah.
unless you maybe, I mean, what do you suggest? It's almost reframing or because it looks like it's not like you said I am not gonna like I can't pursue anything now because that was my because I was a
Right.
planner too. It's like, you know what, I didn't
Yeah.
plan on getting married and then divorced. I think anyone
Right.
divorced, you never ever think in a million years, and if you're a
In a
planner,
million.
you just think, yeah, I'm gonna have a child, then I'm gonna do all
Right.
this stuff.
Right.
And so what do you suggest to people who they believe their dreams have died? They believe that if I can't do this, I can't even move on.
Yeah.
Heart
Um,
space.
that's a great question. I think a person has more than one thing that is near and dear to their heart. Like I had mentioned, I wanted to be a lawyer, but that really wasn't, I wanted to be a detective. But my
Ooh.
mother told me that was too dangerous. So I settled.
Yeah, solving for murders and going
Yeah.
after.
So I settled for lawyer. I was like, maybe being a lawyer is the next best thing. But then I also had the plan B of, journalism. And so when the law, plan A, the law didn't work out, I didn't say, oh, I got plan B, but it just happened to come around to me. And I was able to say, wow, my plan B showed up on its own. And I
Yes.
know that's not a lot of people's stories, but I think sometimes things that you love show up on their own. And you're like, wow, I'm glad I went to this event or I talked to this person because it'll spark something in you. Don't hold on to something so tight that you don't have any room to pick up anything else. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would just encourage that even if something didn't work out, and it might just be for that moment that it didn't work out. And it may come up again later, but don't
Yeah.
hold on to it so tight that you don't give yourself an opportunity to pick up other things.
Well, and that is true, though. Don't you think just having just the slightest bit of faith, because
Yeah.
you just think, it does help to think something's going to happen. I
Yes.
think every one of us who've had unexpected divorce or maybe an unexpected death, and you really, I love how you said that you just can't hang on to it
Yeah.
because then you don't even make room.
Right. Right.
So any I don't know if it's putting you on the spot again. Any like closing, like what is it? Is there like a motto or something that you live by that will? I love how you said that. Like after you're gone, your children will hear you. What do you think
Yeah.
is like the one message that you hope your children will remember decades after you're gone, and maybe your grandchildren and great grandchildren? They'll be like, "Hey, remember that? That magic
Right.
quote that grandma or great grandma had." Is there
I
any
pour
particular?
so much I pour so much into them that I don't know if it's one particular thing. But it's always to, exhibit integrity, be kind and compassionate. To I always tell them, like, as siblings, make sure y'all stay tight with each other. If y'all get mad at each other, don't stay mad long. Figure it out, work it out, because y'all need each other. Because one day it'll just be you guys. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I I'll be gone, your dad will be gone, people will be gone, and y'all will be the core people. So them, remaining close together, tight knit, integrity, compassion, kindness, always helping, caring for others. There's so many things that I hope replays, trying to make the best decisions as often as you can. Because, sometimes you think a decision's only going to affect you, but it has a ripple effect and it can affect those around you as well. So yeah, a lot of those things.
I love that. And don't you think sometimes we lose just sight of what really matters? And when you said compassion, so you didn't say, and make sure that you get the grades, make sure that you get into the right school, make sure that you choose the right career. And I think
Yeah,
that's the message that our current, students, no matter, especially the high school kids, they are stressed. You need to
yeah,
earn a scholarship. You need to get into a particular extracurricular. You need to get just the right references,
yeah,
but don't you think that that's a stress when parents maybe have children who don't value education, and
yeah,
you don't know that in the future, right? You said like compassion and
right,
all these other values, that alone, right, sometimes can be more valuable
absolutely.
than when you interview or when you talk to valedictorians and
Yeah,
they realize it's not like a destined path to success. Some of them just
right,
say, have you heard of that one speech where, all I know is how to get good grades.
yeah,
I don't know how to navigate life like
right,
outside of school,
yeah, yeah,
and that's real. Do
it
you,
is.
so I sorry, I have one last question because as a
Mhm.
mother of three and you have the 11, 17, even the 21, what was your philosophy on grades?
So my thing with grades, because I always loved school though. So I always loved getting good grades. So that was never difficult for me. But there was a standard in my house. My mom is like, nothing lower than a C. A C was cutting it, like cutting it close. Like, don't bring any C's in here, A's and B's. But if you do get a C, like nothing lower than that. And so um, I did work very hard to make sure I had those good grades for my children. I do want the same thing, but I tell them all the time, as long as you're trying your best, as long as you're putting forth the effort and you're doing the work, I don't want to see D's and E's either. But if you were just some classes you can't get the hang of them and you're trying your best, you're trying your
Hmm.
hardest, you're doing the assignments and you're just not, that's a thing sometimes. So I try not to be too hard on them. As long as they know they tried their best, they did everything that they could possibly, and this is still what it is, that's good enough. So that is my philosophy. Now
That is the great.
I'm less strict now when I was, with my
Oh, me
older
too. Me
kids.
too. It's like before, it's like, wait a minute, what?
Right,
And then
right,
you realize, like you said, it's just like, okay, wait, what is truly, truly
right.
important? And I think after you experience loss and grief,
Yeah,
it doesn't it give you just a huge perspective on what you thought. Right now,
absolutely.
I have a lot of, parents who have like the between 5 and 8 years old, and the stress of making sure that you have a high grade on your spelling test, making sure that your assignments are turned in, and but when you have older kids, don't you think it gives you like, okay, I remember being like that, and I
Yeah,
wanted to make sure that things were, done correctly. I remember one of the teachers said, you don't have to edit. I mean, I think my daughters were like 8, but it just
yeah,
becomes an automatic
right.
thing, don't you think?
Yes.
I truly enjoyed this. We have to
Oh,
connect.
thank you so much.
Yeah. Off. What we should do is have a conversation with Deslin, you and I, and
Yes,
just.
that'll be awesome. I
But
thank both of you ladies for, allowing me to share on your platform. I think it's great for, for parents on your platform and just, for healing on hers. Those things are very important. I don't think in my circles, I don't think these types of topics are talked about a lot, and they're very, very important. And like you said, for people to hear and know that, oh my goodness, I'm not the only one going through this, or I'm not the only one that feels like this about being a parent. I think that's important as well. Just having that room to share and express yourself. and get feedback, advice, tips, tools, whatever you may need, to make it through another day. Because like we said, parenting is the most challenging thing that I've done thus far
Isn't
in my
it?
life.
Yeah,
So
and I love that. Even if it's just another day, because I think I'll admit I wanted to quit the parent coaching path many, many times. I thought I think I don't know enough. And then I know Deslin and other people say, no, you're real. When you're
yeah,
suffering, because you think unrealistically that when you get it, you won't encounter all of this stuff that you think, I got
right.
this. And then,
Yeah,
oh no, what happened? I don't have it.
right. Absolutely.
Well, thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank you so much. I know it's a Saturday. It is late for you.
Thank you. Yeah,
So,
it's about 6:30 or 6:30.
yeah, but
Not
it's a
too bad.
Saturday. So I really, really appreciate it. I was just so grateful that you could fit me in on a Saturday evening.
Absolutely.
Take care and we'll keep in touch. And I truly appreciate you sharing.
Thank you for having
Okay.
me.
Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.